Chaque jour, branchez ZoomHaitiNews ak Caribbean Television Network sous Roku ak Amazon TV5. Ou joindre nous tous sous ZHN Live ak CTN Live dans Roku ak Amazon TV5. Ou pas gain télévision? Al droite sous Apple Store ou bien Google Store, télécharger application Roku. L'offre télécharger application ça, ou chercher ZHN Live. Ou joindre même channel ça tout dans Amazon TV5. Pas hésiter à abonner à la chaîne YouTube nous. Et puis suivre nous tous sur Facebook dans ZoomHaitiNews et Caribbean Television Network. ZoomHaitiNews et Caribbean Television Network, plus de 10 sites internet en anglais, français, espagnol et plus d'une centaine d'autres langues. Désormais, vous n'avez plus besoin d'un ordinateur ou d'un téléphone portable. Il suffit de demander à Alexa.
Alexa, what are the latest news from the Caribbean Television Network?
From Caribbean Television Network News. From ZoomHaitiNews Daily.
En ZoomHaitiNews, français.
En ZoomHaitiNews espagnol.
Caribbean Television Network, en français, anglais et espagnol. Vous pouvez aussi télécharger les applications de ZoomHaitiNews en créole, français, anglais et espagnol. Visitez notre site internet sur www.caribbeantelevisionnetwork.com.
Alexa, what are the latest news from the Caribbean Television Network?
From Caribbean Television Network News. Even in his inability to lead, Ariel Henry enjoys the support of the United States. From ZoomHaitiNews Daily. The Assistant Secretary of State for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, Todd D. Robinson, reiterated the United States' support for the Haitian government in the fight against insecurity.
ZoomHaitiNews, français. L'ex-ministre de l'Agriculture, des Ressources naturelles et du Développement rural, David Nicolas, est mort.
En ZoomHaitiNews español. El gobierno de Biden agradece la colaboración de las autoridades haitianas en la gestión del expediente de migrantes irregulares devueltos al país.
Nous dit tout le monde bonsoir, nous comptons avec vous jeudi pour capable présenter on parler avec vous une édition très spéciale puisque nous connaissons et jeudi t'es gagné et élection qui toujours a déroulé là d'ailleurs non et Port-au-Prince donc dans hôtel Reaksyon côté gagné eh bien et promoteur Akò Montana qui au même t'es et réuni jeudi pour être capable de faire une élection pour poste président et provisoire et puis avec premier ministre. Dans la première élection, ça a côté gagné en Fritz Alphonse Jean, qui lui-même est déjà élu donc président et provisoire et puis il gagné au deuxième tour qui a fait dans le moment et n'a pas parlé là pour premier ministre quand nous te promettons nous t'a mené toute réaction yo et sous ça nous gagnons avec nous et Anbasadè Daniel Foote, qui lui-même c'est un très bon ami et Haïti capable de dire ça qui a bataille et longtemps pour Haïti dans bataille donc nous et tweet li nous interview lui même li fait et li perdu poste li et peut-être Haïti donc son monde qui gagne une très bonne carrière dans le département d'État qui a accepté d'aller à la retraite et en Valais, puisqu'il y a son jeune garçon lié, juste parce que les pas décidé cautionner et quelques bagailles qui concernaient Haïti. Pensez, ça venait de droit que nous parlions ensemble avec lui et très rapidement après l'élection. Anbasadè Foote, bonsoir, comment vous êtes?
Bonsoir, en forme, merci un pile et comment nous êtes?
Eh bien, nous très bien. Où t'as suivi l'élection?
Merci beaucoup.
Did you follow the elections?
Yes, I've been following closely, as you can imagine.
Okay, what would be your first reaction?
My first reaction is one of happiness and hope, to be honest with you. This is what the Haitians have spent the last many months working towards, first through the Montana group and then through all the other accords and through all the representatives of all the sectors of society have been working very, very hard trying to get to a point where Haiti can start to move forward. So I'm very happy. I'm also nervous because this would be the first step of a very difficult and challenging process. but one that I am confident the Haitian people are going to be able to overcome and going to be able to restore Haiti to the kind of place where we all want to live.
Right now, the Montana people, they did everything they were supposed to be doing, like they promised. They meet a lot of people, a lot of organizations, especially people in the diaspora, official in the Biden administration, member of Congress. Now, from what you think, from your experience, do you think the step that has been taken today can move the State Department toward the Montana people?
I hope so, but let's change the semantics. This is not Montana. This is consensus. And I use the Creole because I think that's appropriate. So this is consensus. It's far broader than Montana. This includes Montana. This includes the pen and many of the opposition politicians and numbers of other courts. So this is now much more than Montana or Penn or any one accord. This, I think, is a consensus accord. I believe this is the moment that we've sort of hoped the Haitians would find. The US government, I hope, takes a step back and realizes this is exactly what they've been asking for the whole time, and that their hope for a unanimous government is not going to be possible, and Haiti can't move forward.
We're going to do the interview at the same time. I'm going to kind of translate for people who are watching. You know, not a lot of people are speaking English. I'm saying, you just said. Now, Anbasadè Foote donc qui félicité Akò et donc élection faite là, qui pense c'est un bon bagay, elle pense c'est pas Akò Montana qui là, donc son consensus qui pélage et li et espérer donc gagner. Et alors, dans le département d'État, donc, il est capable de suivre et ça, consensus qui joue dans le cadre Akò et Montana, donc c'est en gros, même avec ça, ils font l'autre résumé, puis en gros pour nous. Maintenant, et Ambassador Foote, I know a couple of weeks ago, there's Todd Robinson who put a tweet backing Dr. Ariel Henry. I know you're not a big fan of Dr. Henry, but do you think there's still a possibility that the State Department might, see what the effort that has been doing by civil society in Haiti, by politicians to put themselves together, so they might move forward, say finally they stop backing Ariel Henry and then say they are for the consensus right now?
I certainly hope so. I can't guarantee that it will be today. I wouldn't imagine it would be immediately, but I think this is going to give them a reason to take a deep breath and decide what they really want. I know that they wanted to be able to have the current administration be part of this agreement. And to be honest with you, I would have liked that too at the beginning, and Dr. Henry had every opportunity to answer questions and convince the people that he should be part of this agreement, and he didn't. He didn't try. He did no work toward that end. So I think the United States is going to have to accept the voice of the Haitian people, although they'll probably have to do a little more thinking about it until they get.
So, what would the consensus people? It's not like you said it right. It's not the Montana anymore. It's a lot of organization, PEN, Montana. What would they do? What should they do in order to move? Because let's say it's everything is stopped just because the U.S. support Dr. Ariel Henry. Just a tweet said they, felicitate the people of the Montana, the consensus, everything would be fine. So they know, like we know where the problem is. What should it take for the consensus to what should they say they do right now to move the State Department toward the agreement that was
the United States or people in Haiti or Canada or France or whomever at this point in time? I think the correct line is we want to see adequate Haitian consensus. rather than we want to see a government of national unity and unanimity, a unanimous government, because that won't work. If they just say we'll accept adequate consensus, period, they don't have to mention Dr. Henry, they don't have to mention anybody, and that empowers, I think, Montana to continue to, now you got me doing it, consensus to continue to move forward.
So, you know, both candidates, I assume, now elected prime minister and president, if we should say, Stephen Benoit especially, what could you say about them? Do you think it's the best choice that was been made today?
It's none of my business, honestly. But I support the Haitians' choice, and that's the important thing. Had they chosen Dr. Ariel Henry, I would have supported that choice. So they have gotten together. Both gentlemen are professional. They're well known to the Haitian people. They've been along for a long time. So I'm happy that you're now in a position where Haiti can move forward. And the next step is obviously setting a cabinet and coming up with a plan before they're ready to be installed. But I know they're working hard on that as we speak.
So, I think you already comment on that many times. We Haitian have it's very troubling to understand what the United States want, what the Biden administration want for the Haitian people. But I don't, like you, have any personal problem with Dr. Ariel and we with respect for his career. But should we have someone at the smallest office in here, like I'm talking about, like people, not even a mayor, people like state representatives or city councilor at the lowest level has his name cited in assassination of anyone, let alone a president, this person would have to resign because they would force it. Nobody would like to. And I like to take the example of the New York governor who was accused of some kind of wrongdoing. Everybody took their distance from him. Even before there is a trial, a formal trial that says something. Now, why should it be different for us, like with all the allegation about Dr. Ariel Henry? And I'm not saying he is part of the assassination, but why should they stick with him despite all of that? What is your understanding of that?
That's a reasonable question that I've been asking all along, and as have the Haitian people and many longtime observers of the country. Dr. Henry is innocent until proven guilty, obviously. I have nothing to make me, I have not seen evidence of anything, so I'm not accusing him of wrongdoing. I am saying that it has been alleged that he's tied to these assassins and he should come forth and answer questions to the Haitian people and the internationals. He hasn't done so. And as a result, he has not earned the trust of the Haitian people. If this transition government can't get some trust, it won't have trust at the beginning because Haitian people can't trust any government, and that's okay. But they will not be able to trust a government led by Ariel Henry ever. They might be able to trust this one if they do the right thing. And without trust, the next elections won't work, the people won't accept them, and we'll be right back here. So it's a critical component, and Ariel Henry in 6 months has been unwilling to convince the people that he should be part of this.
You have worked with Dr. Ariel Henry. You met with him when you were still in office, and then he alleged that he would step aside if the Asian people ask him to. And now it's an opportunity for him. I'm not saying the consensus is, they represent all the Asian people, but from all of the organizations that are and part of the consensus. Do you think it's the best time for him right now, if he want to save anything, to say that he understand and then take note that he step aside to let the consensus take place?
I think Dr. Henry and those around him in this illegitimate government that was seen as installed by the internationals have some time for reflection and deep thought in the coming days. I sincerely hope, and I met Dr. Henry and I found him to be intelligent, thoughtful, and I hope he continues that way. And they think about what's best for the people of Haiti. And when is the last time that the Haitian people have really been able to hit reset and tried to move forward from a difficult position without the imposition of the international? So please think hard about Haiti and the people, and all we can ask you to do is the right thing, and you know it.
Since you left the State Department, have anyone or this Secretary Blinken call you about Haiti to, inquire with you what should they do, acknowledge their mistake? Did they talk to you directly?
Yes, I have spoken to State Department leadership since my resignation, not recently. And I had a long and I thought well thought out conversation with the Secretary Blinken, and he's a real smart individual, and he cares about people, and I think he's starting to get it. The consensus now coming together makes this dream I've been trying to sell to the United States for 6 months a reality. So hopefully now there's something real. There's a real consensus, and the United States and the other international partners have something real to attach itself to that's good for the future of Haiti.
Do you think it might reverse course about this thing about Haiti, say not really supporting the consensus, say, they stop supporting Dr. Henry, or they support what have been taking place? Even there's nothing legitimate, like Ariel Henry is not. The consensus, it's not, because this is not what the Constitution said, but at least there is a broader things from what the consensus is working. I might be biased about that, I acknowledge
But,
that.
well, I think Dr. Henry is illegitimate, but everything's unconstitutional now. We all understand that because of the circumstances of the assassination. But Dr. Ariel Henry was selected by a bunch of former ambassadors up in Pétionville, and consensus was decided upon by over 1,000 representatives of the Haitian people. So that's not constitutional under the current constitution, but that is how the Haitian people have decided they want to get back under the Constitution.
Do you think the consensus people, the Montana group, plus all the other organization, they should have done a better job talking to the international community? It should not be their business. Like election in the US should be things for American citizens.
But you have to understand, all of these groups have spoken to the US, and unfortunately, I'm the only one that really listened to them, because I thought my job was to try to find, or to try to help Haiti find a real solution to its underlying problems. And my opinion, I might be wrong, but I don't think Haiti can attack its huge security and hunger and employment and health and education and cultural problems without a political solution first.
If you are called right now and say, okay, we understand it was a mistake for not listening to you, now we would like you to come back, serve any capacity in Haiti, would you accept that?
I highly doubt it. I think I've played my role here, and I didn't leave a lot of doors open in the State Department because that's the only way I've been able to get the appropriate attention. So I'm retired as a diplomat, but maybe I'll come down and become a professional musician in Haiti or something.
Okay, how many years have you spent working at the State Department?
Almost 24 years.
24 years. Can you remind us some of the position with some countries where you are working?
Let's see. I worked in Bolivia, Mexico, London, Iraq, Afghanistan, Zambia, among others, and 5 or 8 other countries. But those are many of the places I live.
You always have a strong view of wherever you work, but in Haiti, some things stick. Like some people start seeing you like, it looks like Haitian. So they talk more for Haiti than like many other people from the international community, even more many Asian politicians. What stick, like what come to your mind when it comes to Haiti from all the time you have been working?
Well, you guys know I like Haiti, but in this case, my job when I took it in July was to figure out what was best for the United States to do in Haiti for the long term. And I think that's what you guys have done here. What consensus has come together over the last 6 months and figured out what's right for Haiti. So I've done my job, hopefully, and now the Haitian people can move forward. I would caution everybody, look, Haitians have zero reason to trust a government or politicians. I understand that completely. This consensus government over the coming months is going to take actions to try and make your lives better. And I just ask that you give them a little bit of a chance and hold them accountable, hold them transparent. And I believe that they can deliver clean elections that you can accept and be proud of your next elected leadership.
We had similar experience, although it's not quite the same things, because this consensus is kind of part of a broader things, more transparent with all the organizations say what they think. But we did this experience with Jimmy Tribes did when people just chose Gerard Goug, never took office. Recently, some of the political organization, Andre Michel, or the people they chose, Messenger Louis, which who was a member of the Supreme Court, like the Cour de Cassation in Haiti, the equivalent of the Supreme Court, but never took office. And some people have a feeling that that might be the same thing for the Montana people coming February 7th. Do you think there is any hope, any chance right now this experience might be different, given that more than like several hundred organizations come together and say, this is what we would like, this is how we would need to solve the problem? Do you think this time there is a chance that we might have a better transition this time?
I absolutely do, or I wouldn't have been involved this whole time. If I thought that this was going to be a repeat of 1986 through 1994, I would not have signed on to that, because the result of that period was pretty problematic. But I do believe that they were much more careful and thoughtful and brought people together and organizations from all over the country. And they're still each day explaining this to the Haitian people, which I think is very smart, because it's important that they know what they're doing. I'm strongly confident that this can work. But you're going to see in the next week or so a lot of probably typical political stunts from other people who are getting nervous at the end. And I would tell everybody, be patient with these guys because they have no good examples. There are no good political role models in Haiti. And now is the time to start to form good political role models in Haiti.
Last question to finish, Ambassador Foote, and I can't thank you enough for your quick response. Whenever I call, say we need you, and you always answer whatever the time it is, and I should commend you for that. Thank you so much. So why do you think, like, we are a couple miles away from the US, they support the Ukrainian government, they support other governments, spend billions supporting them. We don't ask that much, and we don't even ask for money because we think, should we have a chance to do things on our own, we could do a better job. Because some people criticize, they say there's corruption. Yes, there's corruption, but Haitians have never been given the opportunity to say, we choose who should govern us, and that's this person. We will see what they are doing. Everything has been, influenced by the US government, unfortunately. And I know for your past position, I don't invite you to criticize your former boss. Well, why do you think the United States cannot let us at least work on our own if they cannot support us? Why is that? We are a very small country with less than 12 million people. What harm could we done to the US government so they cannot let us work on our own?
I believe it's historical, and it goes back to slavery and racism. And Haiti's independence in 1804 made American slaveholders very nervous, and they lobbied the government of the United States for a long time. And since the abolition of slavery by Abraham Lincoln in the 1860s, that racism against Haiti has continued. It's unspoken, it's unconscious. I don't think everybody really consciously thinks this way, but people look at Haiti and they say, these poor Haitians are not capable of governing themselves. Look at history. But we never look at history. We never realize that the reason that Haitians can't govern themselves is because they've never been allowed to. So I believe we're going to get it right. But you have to understand, we make our foreign policy decisions sometimes with very little time or focus. And right now, I guarantee you, all President Biden's focused on is Russia, Ukraine, maybe a little bit of China and Taiwan. And he doesn't have any time to sit down and understand, hey, now the people who are in charge of this region and hemisphere should be doing that. But it's hard to get out in Haiti because of the security situation, and it's hard for them to figure out what's going on. And I was just lucky because I know everybody from before. So I have the contacts, and I was able to do much of it virtually.
You called out your former colleagues a lot on Twitter, they tweet whenever they tweet something about Haiti. Have they called you for that? Say, why do you do that? Do they ask you?
Well, I'm not calling them out. I'm just trying to help them see from a different perspective, as I did. And the only way I was able to do this, because I realized that we can't impose the solution down there. So I listened to the Haitians, and I have bought into your ideas. Look, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to have problems. You're going to have to change directions and admit mistakes and move forward. But this way, people will be bought in, and you have a chance for that trust. My former colleagues have accused me of not being nice. And I've told them, look, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, that's the only way I can get your attention right now. And while your emotions and feelings are important, the lives of 12 million people are more important to me. So they're still very much distracted by things that aren't reality in Haiti, but they're not bad people, and they're going to realize the right direction to go, or dumber than I look.
But don't you think it's a little bit bizarre, Ambassador Foote? You, as a white man, so I'm not inviting you to comment on race. Most of the people who work on Haiti in State Department, they are, Black American, and uh, who might have some, Asian descent. I'm not saying that, but you are the one that like withstand and understand history, like the racism, the harm that was doing to Haiti all this time. We would expect that from those people, Todd Robinson, other people who work at the State Department who I know. We should expect them to understand it right now. And I don't invite you to, pick a fight with them on race, on things. But don't you find this a little bit bizarre that you are the only one who stand, or while those people should be natural allies of Haiti?
I think I'm the only one who vaguely understands what's going on in Haiti. And as you guys know, you guys don't understand yourselves in Haiti. So you can't expect blondes to understand Haitians. And I've spent so much time with you guys that I think I have a pretty good understanding. I have a pretty good lie detector in my head with Haitians as well. So it's not that I decided to stick up for Haiti. I decided to stick up for the truth and what I thought would work for the United States and what I still think is in the best interest for the United States. It also happens to be in the best interest for the Haitians. And in diplomacy, that's what I call a perfect situation, when our interests align like that.
What do you say to people who said you work in Haiti for a very long time? Now you seems like against PSGK, but there was a time you were fine with them, you work with them, they were friend with you. What's changed for you to make this huge move, and now you're not, you don't want to hear them talking, you're not part of them. So what's changed?
So all diplomats, particularly at upper levels, we have to work with the government in place. And I worked very closely with Calais before they were PHTK. At the beginning of President Martelly's organization or administration, the first year or year and a half or so. And they, at the time, were largely keeping their word and doing what we asked them to do, which was nothing crazy generally. And every once in a while, we'd have to slow them down from going in the wrong direction. And then I left, and he fired Mario Andres Saul, which I think was the beginning of the security disaster, because he politicized security. And once you do that, the gangs became the police. And so why have I turned against PHTK? Not against them, but they broke Haiti. They ruined the country. So I don't think they deserve a chance right now to be part of the solution. I don't care if they run in the elections in 2 years, but right now, like the Haitian people who don't want them to be part of the solution because they broke Haiti, I kind of feel the same way.
What would you tell the consensus people? Should have they come to you say, "Hey, Dan Foote, we finished with the election right now. We did everything we should." From your experience, what would be the next step on international level? What should we do? What would you advise them?
I've already advised them of that, and they're doing it now. They're coming up with a plan and organizing outreach to the international community, because you mentioned before that Haiti can do this on her own, and she can, but you need resources, and otherwise it'll take 100 years, and you don't need anywhere near as much resources as we wasted there after 2010, but you need significant resources, and so the transition government should come up with a plan to address the priorities, which are security, food, health, education, and creating the conditions to let the people choose their leaders again, and then sit down and talk to the internationals about how they can best do that, how we can best rely on the internationals' expertise. But if it's a Haitian plan, it might work. If it's an international plan, it won't work.
How long do you think the transition should last? Like some people say 24 months, like 2 years or less than that. How long would you think it
I
should
think
be?
24 months is reasonable. I think shorter than that, particularly since we've made no security progress in the 7 months I've been working on this, and we're still months away from being able to. But if we can start in a few weeks, at least we can start. So it's going to take a while to create the conditions, and it's going to take a while for the people to see any positive security influenced by this government, but it will come.
Do you think the State Department is kind of nervous to ask Dr. Henry to step down, to call him? He might not obey, he might refuse to do so. Do you think they are nervous about that?
Sure, of course. I mean, boy, that would be an awkward phone call if you think about it. Hi, Dr. Henry, this is Brian Nichols. I know that we chose you for the job, but it's not working out. Could you please pack up your things and go home? That's going to be pretty awkward, but...
Well, it can also be in a tweet.
My previous boss, Secretary of State Russ Tillerson, was fired in a tweet by President Trump. But I think Dr. Henry in the coming days, week, is going to get a pretty good sense as to the environment around him, and hopefully the United States doesn't have to tell him that it's time for him to keep his promise and move on if the people have asked him to do, because he's a smart guy and he's going to do it.
Do you think another allegation would further damage him? I heard that the New York Times is working to release something with the other guy, Baggio, who is in the loose up until now. Do you think another revelation from the New York Times would further damage him?
I take no sides with our international media houses. I think that you're going to see probably some revelations from some international media house in the next week or two.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Foote. That was a pleasure to have you,
Nice
and
to meet you.
we truly appreciate your help. Thank you so very much for your involvement, and there's no word like to say thank you for you enough. We might not agree with you on like your stand, everything, but this is the first time someone is willing to go that far to help, and we should acknowledge that. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Kembe Fem Haiti. Bon bagay.
Merci beaucoup.
Bye bye.
Voilà, c'était Ambassadeur Daniel Foote. Avec lui, nous avons et sous élection dans Akò Montana, dans le consensus là, côté gagné, et économiste Fritz Alphonse Jean qui est venu donc qui passait donc comme président provisoire, et puis Steven Jovenson Benoît dans l'élection deuxième tour comme premier ministre qui fait. Et jeudi, c'était un processus extrêmement transparent. Donc, tout le monde qui votait, il dit, mais qui est-ce qui a voté, mais qui j'en ça fait. Naturellement, il y a des gens qui ont un problème avec le processus là depuis à la base. Nous, la famille avait déjà sorti, dit, il n'y a pas de plateforme gouvernement, ça a été demandé. Mais, il faut que nous reconnaissons que donc, il a fait un travail assez transparent pour toute organisation qui était représentée jusqu'à jeudi. Donc, pour arriver à entendre sous ça, je pense que c'est quand même à féliciter. Maintenant, je ne sais pas qui reste et qui peut le gagner. Et là, est-ce qu'Ariel Henry va le comprendre? Donc, il va le dire, bon, qu'il quitte. Est-ce que Montana a gagné force politique assez pour arriver à la finalité qui c'est, mettons, président, Fritz Jean avec Steven Benoît? Ça a été à déterminer, mais le fait est que gagner, ils n'ont pas important qui franchit. Merci en pile pour tout le monde qui t'a suivi nous vraiment et apprécier ça, nous capables de continuer et garder tout le contenu nous gagner et environ 10 sites internet qui en anglais, qui est en français, qui est en espagnol, en portugais, dans plusieurs autres langues encore pour capable servir. Donc, monde qui haïtien qui Brésil, qui fait visite Brésil, probablement visite va parler et créole ou bien pas comprendre. Donc, il y a gagné possibilité pour lui et nous en portugais. Donc, monde qui dans l'autre pays côté par l'espagnol, il y a besoin de nouvelles nous en espagnol, évidemment, en français tout, et puis en anglais, de telle sorte que nous sommes capables de mettre maximum de nouvelles à disposition possible pour capables de comprendre. Et bien, qui ça qui gagne? Nous gagnons tout plusieurs applications sous et Android, donc qui en anglais, en espagnol, en français, en portugais, qu'on est capable de suivre. Nous gagnons plusieurs podcasts et puis plusieurs channels qui sont Roku, sur Amazon TV Fire, capable de regarder, de manière pour nous capables de mettre contenu à disposition et essayer de faire un job plus et professionnel possible. Professionnel, mais nous reconnaître c'est mon nous faire là-dedans et n'importe l'air. Donc, critiquez-nous, nous ouverts. Donc, commentez, ça ne fait yo, partagez yo, nous pas faire live pour demander mon s'il vous plaît, voyez les étoiles, nous pas faire ça, nous faire libre pour nous capables éclairer et surtout ouvrir notre fond de travail sérieux, continuer et suivre nous, partager le dire l'autre comme ça pour yo capable de faire même travail là tout. Merci en pile. Nous pas monsieur Emmanuel-Paul, nous pas gain pour travail interview ça pour mettre en version créole avec l'équipe Marie-Samuel Charles, traductrice nous qui font un excellent travail dans l'interview. Nous t'ai déjà, nous t'ai parlé ensemble avec le ministre Développement Canada et Ajat Sajin, et puis nous t'ai parlé tout ensemble avec Yvette Clark, et demain, nous avons gagné l'autre et autorité étrangère américaine, donc qui pourra parler et avec nous sous élection. Donc, moi, c'est un pays, c'est comment on est capable de joindre plus et acteurs dans scène internationale pour essayer et réagir sur ça que doit faire et puis faire monde qui dans pays étranger au même tour, donc international, comprendre qui genre situation elle est même liée à Haïti, nécessité pour yo quitter haïtien, donc prendre destin yo en main, même si pas gagner aucune nation dans le monde aujourd'hui, dans le monde ça est là qui est capable avancer et pour compte. Merci tout le monde. Non pas monsieur Emmanuel-Paul, nous avons rencontré et demain si Dieu veut, nous l'autre interview constant encore pour nous capables de porter l'autre personnalité. Merci tout le monde, bon dimanche.
Chaque jour, branchez ZoomHaitiNews avec Caribbean Television Network sur Roku et Amazon TV Fire. Ou avez-nous tous sur ZHN Live avec CTN Live dans Roku et Amazon TV Fire. Ou pas gain télévision? Al droite sous Apple Store ou bien Google Store, téléchargez l'application Roku. L'offre télécharger l'application ça, ou chercher ZHN Live. Ou avez même channel ça tout dans Amazon TV Fire. Pas hésiter à abonner à la chaîne YouTube nous. Et puis suivez nous tous sur Facebook dans ZoomHaitiNews et Caribbean Television Network.
Alexa, what are the latest news from the Caribbean Television Network?
From Caribbean Television Network News. Even in his inability to lead, Ariel Henry enjoys the support of the United States. From ZoomHaitiNews Daily. The Assistant Secretary of State for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, Todd D. Robinson, reiterated the United States' support for the Haitian government in the fight against insecurity.
ZoomHaitiNews, français. L'ex-ministre de l'Agriculture, des Ressources naturelles et du Développement rural, David Nicolas, est mort.
En ZoomHaitiNews español, el gobierno de Biden agradece la colaboración de las autoridades haitianas en la gestión del expediente de migrantes irregulares devueltos al país.
Tous les jours, du lundi au vendredi, suivez sur nos plateformes en ligne ZoomHaitiNews, nos différentes éditions de nouvelles en provenance d'Haïti et partout ailleurs. Pas besoin d'attendre des heures pour être informé. Zoom Haïti est là et vous présente l'information en temps réel. À votre disposition, des professionnels. Rejoignez-nous sur Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Informez-vous sur notre site internet www.zoomhaitinews.com. Les infos sont disponibles en 104 langues. Partout où il y a des Haïtiens, nous sommes là. Zoom Haiti News. L'humain avant tout.